Another teacher is arrested for an alleged sexual relationship with a student. It's
Oh,
just one of many cases we've covered in recent weeks, highlighting a disturbing pattern emerging across the nation. This time, we're headed to Charlotte, North Carolina, where 26-year-old biologist
that's how she look, bro. Hey, what's up, YouTube? It is, man. It's your boy Kai. I mean, it's your boy that son, bro. My bad. It's your boy Kai. Fuck that shit. It's your boy Kai. Get into Tony Kick. Yeah, yes, you.
teacher Gabriella Neufeld is accused of having sex with an 18.
Hold on. She look good though for. Yeah, what she? Why she? You know what I'm saying? Fucking motherfuckers at the school. I know the nigga that got fucked on. I'm trying to figure out who be snitching. Cause like, if I was fucking on the teacher and she look like this, I'm not even finna hold you. I'm not finna tell nobody. So they must have got caught. Nigga, I wouldn't tell her so. I'm gonna keep it a whole stack. We would have been freaking and geeking and neeking and beaking. Damn, I wouldn't even tell nobody. Must have been somebody snitching.
Biology teacher Gabriella Neufeld. We're headed to Charlotte, North Carolina, where 26-year-old biology teacher Gabriella Neufeld is accused of having sex with an 18-year-old student. These
Okay.
accusations all came to light on Wednesday.
He was 18. 18-year-old student. Alright, whatever.
According to court docs, Neufeld engaged in intercourse or a sexual act at least 5 times since October 18th.
Damn.
While the interactions didn't happen at school, they allegedly happened with an 18-year-old male student. After an interview with police, Neufeld was arrested and booked into the Mecklenburg County Detention Center. She was later released on $75,000 bond. This power dynamic is one we've covered extensively at Law and Crime Network, as handfuls of similar cases have made the headlines since the start of the school year. But experts like forensic psychologist Dr. John Delatorre say this shocking pattern has existed for years.
In the 90s, 80s, and 70s, early on, all of these things were happening. These things have been happening since there was a teacher and there was a student, right? So from the beginning of time, abuses like this have been occurring, but the technology wasn't there to engage in these
But
kinds
she
of
look
things. And
good
so
though. That's the thing. I would have been
current,
hitting
like in
that too.
contemporary times, having an online relationship and having an offline relationship are almost the same thing. And so you can engage in these kinds of sex acts, sexual texts, videos, images being sent to one another.
He says the inappropriate relationships start normally with a student teacher dynamic. It's a gradual shift into something much darker.
It is a pretty big jump, and it's a jump that actually happens over time, right? It's not one single jump. It's one little tiny little hop from one step to the next. Now, remember, some individuals actually do get sexual gratification from engaging in this behavior. So part of the thought process is also coupled with a physical gratification that the person is receiving from engaging in this behavior. It's also psychological in that they're getting attention from the victim. So there's a lot of dynamics that are at play when it comes to convincing the person that what they are doing is the
Hold
right thing.
on, look at her.
They always know that it's wrong. They've always known and they always will know that the behavior is wrong. They just don't care anymore.
And it's that careless nature that we've seen much of in recent months. We've covered the story of Peyton Shires, the 24-year-old social worker now accused of having sex with a boy she'd been assigned to counsel. Authorities in Ohio say Shires recorded videos of herself having sex with a boy. Investigators found that evidence on the boy's phone, and Shires admitted to the relationship while she was on the phone with his mom. At the same time, police were listening in. She's now charged with unlawful sexual contact with a minor. In the case of Ricky Lynn Laughlin, it's attempted rape that put the one-time Missouri teacher in the headlines. Investigators say she invited a 16-year-old student to have sex with her while her husband was out of the home. In Pennsylvania, school counselor Kelly Ann Shute was accused of preying on a 14-year-old boy in his bedroom after his parents left the house. Investigators say the pair had inappropriate relations several times, including in her SUV and her home. California teacher Michelle Solis is accused of having a sexual relationship with a former student and sending explicit photos. 27-year-old Emily Swinkowski resigned from her teaching job in Missouri after explicit photos she took made the rounds between students. She's also accused of sexual assault. As is Cassidy Krause of Iowa, who allegedly sent explicit photos and had sexual relations with 3 boys, ages 13 and 14. Then there's the case of Alyssa McCommon, a Tennessee teacher who's allegedly pregnant with her former student's child. Just this week, McCommon's bond was revoked following her second arrest.
Man, pregnant, bro. What the fuck, bro?
She
Nah,
faces
13,
charges of
14.
rape, coercion of a witness, aggravated stalking, and harassment. She was arrested in early September for allegedly raping a boy in her own home. She was released on bond, but arrested again when she allegedly reached out to the victim after her release, saying she was pregnant with his child. At a hearing this week, a judge ruled McCommon will remain in jail as she awaits trial. It's the disturbing nature of these cases that continues to generate interest, so we're taking a closer look now at the most recent one, Gabriella Neufeld. So, to make sense of the case so far, we're joined now by law crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman. Julie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what struck me about this case and is what separates it from so many of the others like it is that the student in this one is 18 years old, so a legal adult, but Neufeld was still arrested and charged. Can you explain that?
Sure. So, what we've typically been seeing is where a teacher engages in some type of sexual activity with a student that's also underage. This is unique because the student is 18 years old, and so he is of age. However, the law is quite clear in North Carolina. And in this case, the crime is called sexual activity with a student. And what that says is that an individual who is a teacher who is over 4 years, who is 4 years older than their student, which in this case, the victim was 18, and the teacher was, I believe, 26 years of
Big as
age.
hell.
Um, the law prohibits any type of sexual activity between the two.
She now faces 5 counts of felony sexual activity with a student by a teacher, that charge that you just explained. But is that different than rape? Is it less severe?
It is less severe. It's still a felony. They classify it in that state as a G felony. The difference is the amount of time an individual can get if, in fact, they're found guilty. In a case such as this, the defendant is potentially looking at up to 47 months, whereas in the typical cases we would see, you would have an expectation that the potential for imprisonment is much higher.
Damn, she finna be sitting in that motherfucker.
Nice ride.
It's the real deal.
Not too long though, but
It
damn.
sounds like a lot of this case is going to rely on what this 18-year-old student has to say. Would you say that he would need to testify?
You would expect that he will. Now, keep in mind, there might be outcry witnesses, individuals that he told what happened. There might be witnesses. We expect that when an individual is raped, that it's done in a private location, but you never know what the evidence is going to yield. There may be, which we don't know yet, there might be texts, there might be videos, there might be emails that don't require him to necessarily testify. Keep in mind that no matter what his age is, if it's a student and it's a teacher, and there is an age difference between at least 4 years, consent is irrelevant to this charge.
What happens if this 18-year-old is not cooperative and he doesn't want to testify at all? I know that you mentioned he doesn't necessarily need to, but do prosecutors need his cooperation to move forward?
I think anytime you have a case, particularly where it's involving two individuals, it is important for the prosecution to have the victim on board. Um, that doesn't always mean they're always on board. Can the prosecution go forward without that person? Well, they can certainly subpoena them to testify and require them to, or they can potentially see if there's other evidence besides what the victim would have to say that can support any type of charge against the teacher regarding what happened with this student.
Now, from the prosecution over to the defense side, if we're looking at the defendant in this case, Gabriella Neufeld, what could her defense look like? How would she combat these 5 charges?
It's so early on in the stage, at least from the knowledge we have. So we don't know how strong their case is. We don't know if the victim is cooperating. We don't know if someone else came forward to say what happens, and the victim's like, I don't want to be involved. And so, from the defense perspective, of course, their best position would be if the victim does not want to cooperate. Their best position would be if there are no texts, there are no emails. And if the texts are potentially innocuous, they might argue that this was just a flirtation and this was nothing more than that and didn't rise to the level of a felony.
Could it be in Neufeld's best interest to take a plea deal rather than go to trial with this case?
So, Sarah, it's so early to even think about that. And again, we don't know what the defense knows, and quite frankly, the defense may not know what the prosecution knows right now. So it's so early in the arrest. It's so early in the investigation. Obviously, when someone decides if they're going to take a plea, um, the reason they take a plea is if they think that what's being offered is better. If they were to go to trial and lose. So I think it's going to take a bit of time and really for the defense to see how strong the evidence is and also if there's any mitigation.
Fuck all that. Who snitched? That's all I need to know. Who snitched, bro? My nigga was going crazy. My nigga had sex with her 5 times. Somebody snitched. Why even snitch, bro? And if this nigga hitting the teacher, why you talking, nigga?
Does the
Damn.
defendant have mental health issues? Are there anything that would
Talking too much.
somehow lessen the blow of, quite frankly, what many consider quite a horrific crime?
And we're talking about how recently this investigation began. It was just this week that these allegations came to light and that Neufeld had this interview with police. So I'm wondering, as the investigation moves forward, we're not even a week out. Is it possible that investigators will go back and look at her relationship with other students and that others may come forward?
Anytime you have any type of sex crime, whether it be student to teacher or any other scenario, the police are going to be looking not just at the relationship between those two, but the relationship between the teacher and any other potential students that may raise some red flags. So certainly, they're going to want to do that in this case. Look, anytime a teacher has a relationship like this with the student, boundaries have clearly been crossed. And if they're willing to do it once, they potentially are willing to do it multiple times.
In this case, we know that bond was set at $75,000. Do you think that that's an appropriate amount?
That's a big
Anytime
amount,
bail or
goddamn.
bond is set, the judge has many factors to consider, and one of them is the flight risk of the individual. And so, this is an individual who I believe was part of the community. She's presumed innocent at this stage. And so I don't think it's unusual for an individual who is a member of the community, who has ties to the community, and has no real basis or belief on the part of the judge that they're going to flee, that they're going to set an amount that would guarantee they return to court, but not require them to remain incarcerated.
Julie Rendelman, thank you as always for joining us and bringing us more information about this case.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
We will continue to cover Neufeld's case as it moves forward in legal proceedings, bringing you the latest updates in this and all other cases like it. Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
Man, fuck all that. Who snitched, bro? That's all I want to know. Who the fuck snitched? My nigga was hitting on that. My nigga was straight, unless he was just yapping too much. You hitting on it, bro? Why you talking so? You supposed to keep that quiet, boy. It's whatever, bro. That's gonna close the video, bro. If you enjoyed the video, bro, hit that like button, hit this up. If you wanna watch me live, tune in to KDIES. Peace and blessings.